Pennies to Pounds podcast with your host Kay, and this is a podcast where we aim to dispel myths, simplify difficult financial jargon, and rectify your own personal problems. So today we have audio and visuals, as you can see, depending on what you're listening to, either, Spotify, wherever, or you're on YouTube. We also have visuals. So I am joined with an amazing guest. He's been here before, he's here again. He was absolutely amazing last time, and I'm excited for this one. Introduce yourself. Go for it.
Hey guys, Brickz With Tipz once again, linking up with Pennies to Pounds podcast. You know me, I love to be here. We had a great time last time, and of course, we're going to have a fantastic time this time. So you guys stay tuned, and I'm sure Kay is going to make this another amazing episode.
Thank you. That was like a proper intro. Thank you.
I know. So I felt kind of. I don't know, man. I'm feeling the vibe today. What can I say?
I love it. I'm so happy. So I'm going to bring you this episode. So today we're talking about the property market, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Property.
Yes, we are. Yes,
as always. That's your forte. I love talking about property because you teach me stuff. And I think it'd be really, really helpful and useful to talk about today.
Yes. The people want to know. So I think it's come at a perfect time. I think you're bang on. You got the right idea, and people have got a lot of questions. So it's only right that we address it, and we address it on a platform like this, whereby people can take it in and digest the information that's out there and actually what is going on right now. Because I know there's a lot of announcements that this is happening and this is happening, but sometimes it isn't always easy for the everyday person to digest. So I guess that's what we're trying to achieve here today.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. So we're going to go straight in and we're going to address what's been happening so far. Due to COVID-19, coronavirus, we're all in lockdown, but how has that actually affected the property market, from what you can tell?
So from what I can tell, if we scale back a bit, so January, February, the property market was doing really well. They were calling it the Boris bounce, right? And ever since Boris Johnson came into power, the property market was doing really well, and we saw capital growth over the majority of England, right? And then some point in March, I believe, COVID was in March, right? Anyways, March. So some point in March, COVID hit, and obviously things came to a halt, and there was a lot of news around the impacts of COVID on the property market. But if we dig into it, all of it was expected. So they mentioned that sales went down significantly. Well, at this point, we couldn't leave our homes. We were told to stay at home. So obviously people can't buy and sell houses. Another impact that happened was that lenders withdrew their products from the market. So lenders said they no longer are happy with you putting down a 10%, 5% deposit. They want 40% deposit. Now, a lot of people don't know why this is, but the main reason they did it, banks were doing it to protect themselves as well as their customers. This is because surveyors can't go out to a property due to the lockdown and value how much a property is worth. So what banks did to protect themselves is that they gave themselves a bigger breathing space, saying that people need to put down a larger deposit, so there needs to be more equity in the property. And what that does, that protects the property against house price fluctuations, and it also protects the property against an incorrect valuation, essentially. So all of these things happened, and the property market really came to a halt. I mean, estate agents couldn't open, removal companies ceased trading, lenders saw themselves not doing as much business, and lenders saw themselves giving a lot of mortgage payment holidays as well, which came at a financial cost to them, as well as an operational cost as well, because they have to dedicate a certain amount of staff to dealing with mortgage payment requests, mortgage payment holiday requests, and also they won't be receiving mortgage payments from, I can't remember the million amount of customers that took a mortgage payment holiday, but it was a significant amount of customers. I believe the numbers was at least 10% of homeowners. I think it was more than that, but at least 10% of all homeowners in the UK took a mortgage payment holiday. So we're talking about millions of people. So they had to bear that operational and financial cost. So I guess what we want to find out is what's going on now, right?
Exactly. So we know that COVID-19 has kind of thrown everything out of the works. But what's going on with the property market at the moment?
Cool. So at the moment, the property market has restarted, essentially. What's happened is that Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick, I think that's his name anyway, he stated that every process within the housing purchase process, should I say, has been restarted, and so long as we abide by social distancing measures, it's fine to go ahead. So that covers everything from house viewings all the way up to removals. So all these industries are happy, and I guess it's a good thing because a lot of these industries were close to going out of business. I know especially the smaller estate agents that might have had to continue paying rent on their offices, but they can't do any business whatsoever because the housing market has frozen. So that was a good news story for some people. So if we dissect the separate stakeholders within the house buying process and find out what's going on with them. So let's look at estate agents, right? During the COVID period, the estate agents were quite kind of like myself and Kay, because we're using tech to bring you guys this content, right?
Yeah.
We're using FaceTime and cameras and stuff like that. And the estate agents did the same thing essentially. What they said is that, right, we're going to continue doing viewings, but we're going to start doing virtual viewings. So estate agents partnered with the homeowners themselves to grant virtual viewings for potential buyers of property. Now, I did some tweets to find out if people were doing were doing virtual viewings. Quite a few people were doing virtual viewings. There were actually some people that were happy to buy a property doing a virtual viewing as well. So what's happened now, right? Viewings are allowed so long as social distancing measures are taken, essentially.
Okay.
Do we think that virtual viewings are going to continue? What do you reckon?
Do you know what? I think they're quite interesting. I have actually been on one, and I wanted to see how it works, and I had a look. Yeah, it was actually really cool. It was quite interesting. But I do think it'll be a way that people will be able to view houses. You know, like if someone was moving far, for example, if I wanted to move to like Scotland, then I think it'll be a way that people who are nowhere near the location they want to purchase, they'll be able to view that way. So I do think that a lot of changes that are happening now will be kept going forward.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think that estate agents, the one that had never ventured into this before and had to venture into it because of COVID, they're going to say that, right, we have this facility so we can actually help some people that can't get down to the viewings. However, I do think that they're going to, obviously, naturally, physical viewings are going to spike now. They want people to come in and see the property, and buyers especially themselves as well. They want to come in and see the property. They want to do the whole putting their hand under the tap, feeling the walls, knocking the walls. You know all these traditional, all these stereotypical things you see. So yeah, of course that's going to happen. I guess another stakeholder within the whole buying process is solicitors, conveyancers. They had a backlog of transactions that needed to go through. It was a stupid amount, in the hundreds of thousands essentially. So anybody that's gone through the buying process before already, you know that solicitors do great work. They do fantastic work, but they are slow. You will have to chase them, and it can be so frustrating. So during this period, you're going to have to chase them even more. Like, it's going to be crazy because they've got such a crazy backlog because of what's happened with COVID. So I guess that's the only change that you'll see in that respect, is that you're going to have to be a lot more patient with solicitors. Removal companies, again, we'll just go through that quickly. You're probably just going to see a backlog when it comes to moving home. They're just going to have so many bookings, so people may have to consider renting their own van and doing the move themselves with friends and family if you can, which is now permitted under the social distancing rules. Right, if we go into the next stakeholders, this is where it gets interesting. Let's talk surveyors. So surveyors play such an instrumental part in the home buying process because they value the properties essentially, and they kind of give lenders, mortgage lenders, confidence that they can lend a certain amount on a property essentially. Let me give you an example, right? Okay, let's say you went to go buy a 2-bedroom house for 300,000, right? And you put down a deposit of 30,000, right? This would mean that the bank needs to lend you £270,000, right? Now, in a crazy world where you didn't make your mortgage payments, and we know this could never be the case because you are the founder of Pennies to Pounds podcast here. So
could never be me. Never.
That's completely impossible. But let's just say that you didn't make your payments.
Cool.
In a normal scenario, yeah, the bank is happy because what they will do is they will come and repossess your 300k house. They'll sell it on the market. Now, let's just say on the market, they didn't manage to get 300k. They managed to get 295. That's fine because they still get their 270k. And what they'll do is that they'll give you back your 25k and you take a 5k loss, basically. Does that make sense? Now, the problem is that during the COVID period, surveyors couldn't go out there and make sure that that house is worth 300k, which is why banks said that, you know what, forget the 10% deposit. To be sure that we can get all of our money back, we want to make sure that you've got to put down that we're only lending up to 60% of the property. So buyers have to put down a 40% deposit essentially. And it gives them so much space because no surveyor is going out there. There's so much breathing space because instead of putting down 30k deposit, you're putting down, I mean, what's 40% of, it's so shameful I have to get a calculator out. Wait. That's a 120k deposit.
Yeah.
120k. So they're only lending you 180k. So the chance, put it this way, the chance of the valuation that they're doing being out by 120k is very rare, which is why they said we want 40% deposits. Cool. But now surveyors are allowed out now. So immediately surveyors were allowed out, we saw lenders like HSBC state that, right, we're doing physical valuations again now. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And now you no longer need a 40% deposit. You need, some banks were saying that we're doing 15% deposits now. Some banks are definitely doing 10% deposits. It's not as widely available as it was before, but 10% deposits are definitely out there right now, and they're out there for buyers to take advantage of. Now, I guess this is a good time to go on to the last stakeholder, which is buyers. It's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one, and unfortunately, it's not going to be a definitive answer. It's going to be a depends. Yeah. But hopefully, you kind of get the two profiles that I'm talking about. So, if you're a first-time buyer with no real property experience or property education, so you are literally just you would like to own a home, you don't do anything like study, you haven't got any history in studying house values essentially, so you don't know how do I put this, you've found a property on a street that you like and you like the look of it, you've gone to a mortgage broker who's told you that you can afford it and you're going to buy it, right? I would just be a bit patient because you need all of the information. However, if you're a first-time buyer who is leveraging off the information of someone who is a property investor or somebody who knows quite a lot about property, or you're a first-time buyer that knows the area that you're buying in, you know the area that you're buying in well already, and you think that you can get a deal. Let me put it this way, right? If we go back to that 300k house, right? Let's say that you put an offer in for 300k. There's a difference between you viewing the property, you having no idea what the property is going to be worth. They've told you 300k. Your broker said that you can afford 300k and you buy the house. That's the first person scenario, right? I would say that scenario is a bit risky. However, there's a difference between that and someone who has been looking at properties on that road for a year, right? They know that properties have sold on that road for 330k, 340k. This one is 300k. And the reason, and you understand the reason why it's 300k as well. This one's 300k, but it's 300k because it doesn't have a driveway. The other ones do have a driveway. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If there's difference in prices, yeah, generally speaking, I would advise, especially this level of buyers what I'm discussing, investigate why. You need to know why the price is different. There needs to be a rationale for everything, right? We're talking about a real buy and sell market. So if you understand why the price is the way it is, I would say this is a good time to get a deal as well, because in that scenario, if you know that it's worth 300k based on all the things I mentioned, try and go in at 290. I would say that this is a good time to try and get a deal, so trying to take advantage of it. And you can still take advantage of it if you are a first-time buyer anyway as well. You can try and come in at 290,000. You could try and come in at 285. Quite a lot of the time, it's good to give an estate agent a reason why you're coming in at a lower price. Sometimes just say affordability. 290 is all I can afford right now. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
That's
or say that, exactly that. Or say that, do you know what? I thought it was going to have this, but I came and I realised that a lot of people make stuff up at viewings, you know, it's so funny. They say something like, do you know what? When I came to this property, I thought it had a driveway, but I came and I realised it didn't have a driveway. It was a different one I was thinking of. So I'm only happy to pay 290. They're waffling, but this is the game that we played, right?
So do we get the price of anything, right?
Exactly that. Say what you need to say, exactly that. So yeah, I would say that now is the time to try and snag a deal, basically. So generally speaking, what I'm saying to people that is, if you're going to buy now, at least try and get a deal, or make sure that the price that is being offered at is a good deal. Just what I would say is that, because we don't know what's going to happen, what's going to happen with the economy, house prices are expected to fall. Just make sure that in this period you are not paying over the odds. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, with first-time buyers, right, it's different to investors. Never pay over the odds when you're buying a property. So I don't have to mention to investors, is this a good time to buy? Because most investors are hungry right now. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Now is the best time to snag a deal, right? But with residential buyers, yeah, they are the ones that a lot of the time they're the ones that inflate house values, because there is sentiment involved, right? They fall in love with the house. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like they've seen. It's kind of like when you go to a house, right, and somebody has got a nice Mercedes parked out the front. Then you go into the house, it's got a 60-inch TV on the wall, mounted on the wall, all nice. No wires are showing. You know, people actually end up paying over the odds because of how much they love that, what the person's had, and they take it. Oh, this is why it's not that big in the UK, but in the American property industry, they stage houses. The estate agents will pay people to come. Yeah, they stage houses because this is what people buy. Sometimes, especially, so not for investors. Investors are used to, you see me as an investor, yeah, I need the floor plan. A lot of my decision is based on the floor plan. I need to see the floor plan. You get what I'm trying to say? I don't really care about the walls and stuff like that. But when it comes to residential buyers, these guys, they fall in love with what they can see themselves living in. So if you have an
idea of the house,
exactly that. So if you have an unfurnished property, it's going to be kind of tough to sell that to someone who especially has never owned a home before. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Which is why naturally you'll find that a lot of first-time buyers buy new builds, because new builds always come with furniture, fresh, blah blah blah. So yeah, there you go. So
crazy. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Completely forgot about
that. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. So with buyers, let me just summarize. I'll summarize by saying that first-time buyers with that don't have that much property experience, I'll say, if you'd like to go ahead, and if you're ready now, go ahead. But just make sure that you're not paying over the odds. The way you can make sure that you're not doing that is just look at sold house values on Zoopla and Rightmove. Other property investors that can leverage off someone who knows quite a lot about property, or someone that's been doing a lot of research themselves. Listen, now's the time to snag a deal, because the whole property markets are affected by what everybody thinks as well, unfortunately. And now that everybody thinks that house prices are going to go down, vendors, property people that put their house in the market, they're expecting for people to come lower than what they've marketed for. They're expecting it. You get what I'm trying to say? Because everybody's saying house prices are going down. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So definitely, they're going to be expecting to get bids below market value. I mean, I don't sell properties now, but once upon a time in a crazy state, I put one of my properties on the market, and people in the norm, when there was no COVID, people were coming 20k, 25k. It makes you fuming, but they're coming 25, 20k under market value. And then what happens is the estate agents are trying to urge you, saying, what do you reckon? Do you reckon that you would go 10k below market value? Do you reckon? And I'm saying that, listen, if I wanted to do that, I would have told you that from the offset. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So listen, now's the time to snag a deal. And finally, the last reason I say that now's the time to snag a deal as well, just going on off the back of estate agents, is that estate agents work off commission, right? They've been in lockdown for about 2 months, right? They haven't earned any commission. So now they are hungry. If you are a real buyer, pick up the phone and speak to an estate agent about a property that you like the look of and say, listen, this is what I've got. Just be upfront with me. Is the vendor, don't say would the vendor accept 10k below market value. Just use the term, is the vendor open to offers? I just need to know, because I can't pay the value that's been listed at. Is the vendor open to offers? And then if they say yes, then you work from there. Hopefully that answers the question. Good. I've been going off.
No, that was good. On the flip side, so you told us right now, so it'll be a really good time for anyone who's got the money now to go and snag a deal, go and grab your house, start off your life now. But alternatively, if I'm someone, right, and I have my house, okay, and I'm planning on moving. I wanna move to something a bit bigger. Is this a good time to sell? Should I hold off for a bit? What would you say? Obviously, you probably won't have a definitive answer, but what do you think is gonna be the cause?
It's a tough one because I know I said that it's a good time for buyers to find a deal, but they're testing their luck essentially. A lot of the time they're going to hit a brick wall, and the reason is because the vendor's just going to accept what they want to accept, right? So I spoke about when I was listing my property, I didn't accept any of those offers, and I just took my house off the market. That was I just didn't sell my house then. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And the thing about vendors is they can do that because the marketing costs are bared by the estate agent. So you can list your property, sign a deal with an estate agent, list it for 12 weeks, sign a contract. That contract's been signed. You try and sell the house for 12 weeks. The worst that can happen is that it's an inconvenience for you with viewings and things like that, if that makes sense. But if you get a lot of stupid offers in and you don't want to accept them, then you just don't sell your house. So I think that if you are someone who wants to sell your house to make money, or you want to sell your house to move to a bigger one, list it on the market. First of all, start off by speaking to the estate agent and finding out what they think that you can achieve for the house. Yeah, and speak to a few as well. You want to get before you speak to a few, actually set the price that you want for the property and then speak to the estate agents. They will tell you what they think the property is valued at and what they think they can achieve for the property as well, right? You can then list your house on the market with the estate agent that you want to go with, and then listen, if you don't want to sell it at the price that people are offering, then that's that. One thing I'll just mention as well is that people have no experience in selling houses. Estate agents take a fee. The fee is normally a percentage, right? So if you want to sell your house for 300k, they're going to take a fee, and it might mean that you end up with 292. If you need 300k, it may mean that you need to list that house at 310,000, if that makes sense. Just a little,
So
if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So in summary, if you're somebody that wants to sell, go for it. If you need to sell, go for it. I think when you need to sell, it's a bit different because unfortunately,
come out deciding.
Yeah, exactly that. And unfortunately, this is what it sounds nasty, but this is how markets work, right? Investors thrive off people that need to sell, right? If an investor knows that you need to sell, they've got you, right? Because this is not even an investor, any savvy buyer. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You find someone that needs to sell. If the estate agent somehow makes you aware that the seller needs to sell before this amount of time, then they're caught between a rock and a hard place, and that's often where a deal arises. But if you're somebody that wants to sell, that doesn't necessarily need to sell, you can just stick to your guns and sell at the price that you want. Exactly that.
I like that advice. You've really come for the buyers and the sellers. You've helped to tie us all up. Lastly, I kind of want to round it up here. So imagine, get your thinking cap on, right? I want you to imagine this, right?
Yeah.
You are That's a Raven, right? You can see into the future. That's what you can do, yeah?
Yeah.
But your crystal ball, that's a Raven. What would your prediction be for the future of the property market? Obviously, right or wrong, doesn't matter. What is That's So Raven, That's So Brickz prediction for the future?
Tough one. We got the near future. We got in a couple of years' time. We got in 10 years' time. So I would say that on the outset, the economy is in a bad place. So on the outset, we definitely do expect house prices to go down. It's really tough right now to give an indication because, if I'm being honest, we don't even know. Some people think that the effects of COVID have happened. I don't think they've happened yet, if that makes sense. I think that we're going to see stuff topple I think that we're going to see stuff topple after we've been allowed out. I think that's when we're actually going to start realizing the effects of COVID. So until we start seeing that, it's very hard to say, but house prices will go down. However, in this day and age, they are, I think, especially because of the last financial crisis, they are paying a lot of attention to the housing market, to the property industry. They're paying a lot of attention. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people are expecting, just because of the amount of attention that's being paid towards it. For example, even lenders doing that whole 40% thing, do you know how prudent that is compared to what they were like before? Do you get what I'm trying to say? They've gone straight into they went straight into a scenario where they're protecting themselves and customers, basically. Locked everything off, basically. Like, listen, 40%. I mean, a 40% deposit is basically zero risk, right? It's crazy. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So they locked everything off, and the amount of help that the government's given as well with like mortgage payments to ensure that people don't. The mortgage payments is essentially just to make sure that people don't default during this period, because obviously when people start defaulting, then they have to sell their price, and they're willing to sell their price at they're willing to sell their house at 230k when it's worth 300k just to get out of the mortgage that they owe the bank and things like that. So these are the measures that are being put in place that we were unheard of the last time something like this happened, essentially. So I think they definitely will go down. I think it will be bad, but it will recover slowly. And I can imagine that more measures are going to be put in place. For people that want to buy now, and people like yourself, Kay, because I've spoken to you a few times about it, a lot of us now are not buying property just to live in it. We're buying it as an investment as well. And in the back of your mind, you just need to say to yourself that property isn't something that you get in and out of in 2 years, right? It's a long-term investment, right? So if you were going to, someone that bought a property, if you were going to sell a property, you'd probably sell it in about 5 years' time. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And that's if you were going to sell it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's a thing whereby you may not be affected, so long as you put down a substantial deposit and you've got enough breathing space, you may not necessarily feel the major impacts of house prices reducing. You bought an asset that you may want to keep that asset and pass it down to your children. So if house prices go down in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and they start picking up in 2024, 2025, and that 300k house, by the time it's 2050, that 300k house is now worth 420. It's kind of like, you get what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like,
yeah, I get you.
We were thinking small picture for something that you want to keep for how many years, if that makes sense. So I think that's just something that people should keep in the back of their mind when it comes to property. It is a long-term investment, and you're in it for the long haul. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. So I think that is just something that people should consider. But all in all, I would say that I expect house prices to, I do expect them to go down. I don't expect it to be majorly severe, and I do expect it to recover in the coming years, let's just say 2-3 years. But people that want to buy for investment as well, especially if I know we spoke about, on the last episode of the podcast, we spoke about if you buy a 3-bedroom house, you can rent out 2 rooms to lodgers, and you make money off that, and it'll be more than your mortgage payments, right? Well, we need to understand that there's a trade-off, right? Even though house prices are going down, but at this point in time, interest rates are low, which is going to mean that you're getting a really good interest rate, right? And if you're getting rental income, and the rental income is exceeding that mortgage payment, and you're making a profit, for those 1-2 years, you would have been making a profit on your property anyway. That's if you wanted to do that anyway. So these are just things to consider, right? It's not always just that listen to what they say on the news, and it's a lot of it is scaremongering. But I think for sure. But I think let's be clear, right? House prices will go down, and depending on what your objectives are, depending on what you want from property, it's up to everyone to make the decision whether they want to invest now or get into it now. But just remember, property is long term. Like we're in it for the long term. So just before I end as well, give someone like myself, right? I've got 4 properties, 1 residential, 3 investment properties, right? The 3 investment properties, if house prices do go down, what does that mean for me? What does that look like for me? And hopefully this will help people understand. Generally speaking, if I get a significant amount of equity in one of my investment properties, I'll pull out the equity and I'll use it to buy another property. If house prices go down, I'm not expecting to see that significant part of equity. However, with investment properties, you tend to have a lot of equity in it anyway, because in order for you to pull some equity out, you need to have a substantial amount, right? So how do I put this? Generally speaking, you need to have about 25% equity in your investment property anyway. So if house prices go down, you might not be able to pull any out, but you won't be anywhere close to negative equity essentially. So
that's fine.
As a summary, sorry I'm doing tongue twisting. As a summary, if house prices go down, what does that mean for my investment properties? All it means, because I had no intention of selling them anyway, I'm keeping these properties for life and sending them down to my children. All it means is that I can't pull out equity. However, the rental income is still there, and the rental income is always exceeding the mortgage, making me a profit. So hopefully that summarizes it and makes it clear for people. But yeah,
that makes so much sense. Thank you so much for injecting all that knowledge to all of us today. That has been really helpful, because I know, COVID's been, it's been trying for a lot of people, and where there isn't a lot of clarity, it's hard for you to know what should I take in, what should I not. A lot of it is negative.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of cut through all of that noise and kind of have like a clear idea of where we're at now, where we potentially could go.
Yeah.
And to let people know that it's all hope isn't lost. There is still time if you want to buy now. If you had your deposit saved up, you can buy now. If you still plan to buy in the next 1, 2, 5 years, then keep saving on track for that. You don't have to change your plans.
Exactly that.
But yeah, this has been a really, really good episode. So for those of you who are actually watching and not listening, I will put the link to the episode that Brickz referred to, which we recorded first, in the video description, alongside everywhere you can find Brickz.
Yes. So Brickz With Tipz has previously exceeded on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So we were previously on those 3, and YouTube, sorry.
Yeah.
However, we have just launched our new website, www.brickswithtipz.co.uk. You guys need to check that out. So on that
Absolutely.
website, we have courses that tell you about mortgages. We spoke a bit about equity. It explains exactly what equity is on there. I'm going to be releasing new courses, comes with calculators. We have a buy to let guide course as well, where you can learn about buy to let. That one's chargeable. If you're listening to this, it's chargeable at £49 as a promo price. Yeah, so that's not going to be for long, so that price is going to change. The rest of the courses that are currently on there are free, so you guys enroll as soon as you can and get that free property knowledge. I mean, if you liked this episode that I've just had, this link up that we've been doing, myself and Kay, especially the last episode as well, you need to be enrolled into the website, because there's so much information on there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to link all of that down and go and check everything out, because the website is honestly amazing, and you'd be a fool to miss out on the knowledge. Why would you not go and grab the knowledge? But I want to say thank you so much for giving up your time and being here today. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
See you.
guys.
Bye.